This is all very self-evident and simple. Our natural state is happiness. The lowest energy state of consciousness is happiness. So when you let go of all resistance, thought is basically a resistance and a limitation. When you let go of all of that, when you let go of all concepts of an individual self doing things, and you just shift basically into just pure being. There is a state of self-sufficiency, self-reliancy, self-fulfillment. And it's stillness. Stillness and silence. Stillness being more of a visual thing, and silence being more of a thought thing. So silence of mind, stillness of thought, silence of that voice in your head. So it may look like there's a guy just sitting here doing nothing, but in fact there's divinity being. There's a guy sitting there doing everything all at once. In a way. So this is all incredibly simple, but the mind, which I'm showing and saying directly using symbols and mind to point mind back towards mind, telling mind that it's an illusion and that it's the source of all the problems. All the problems basically is thought, and when you transcend thought and just sit there effortlessly in the thought, in as the thought-free state, but our ego, that is our sense of individuality, is created and sustained through thoughts and belief systems. So most people believe that there's some sort of convoluted collection of thoughts and sensations, combination of thoughts and sensations of body and mind. And the ego, the identity that derives itself from its thoughts and its belief systems, if those things stop and don't keep manifesting, then they believe that's a state of non-existence for that ego, right? If you are your thoughts and your belief systems, then when those are challenged, you will resist as if you were a wild animal defending its biological body. And also you will fight to preserve those belief systems. The ego will fight to preserve those belief systems because that's what it is. It has no fundamental existence apart from that. It's not autonomous or absolute in any way. So that's why you can't sit in as effortless thought-free awareness, is because so much of your identity is wrapped up in thought. And you don't really know that you exist apart from a thought. See, if there's a thought, it's a case of I think, therefore I am. If you have a thought, then you know you exist because you're experiencing something. That is a confirmation of your existence. When you experience something, that is kind of a implied state of existence. I must exist because I see that thing over there. So it's not absolute existence, just knowing your existence because it's completely self-evident. Being completely self-evident, self-reliant, self-fulfilled in the absolute that you are. So the ego will look at this, watch this video, and just say, well, that's just fucking boring. But that's from a time-based perspective. So what happens is that time is the separation between events, and if there's no thoughts, there's no separate events. That's basically it in a nutshell. So it's just one continuous event, more of a continuum. But the eventing is in the periphery, and you're based in timelessness. Like there's no time when there's no thought, basically. So this also kind of answers the question about the problem is always boredom. Well, if it's just you and nothing's happening, then that would be not just like... So there's the one aspect of the terrifying thought that it's non-existence, that you could, if you're in a state where it's just you, the ego will misinterpret that as loneliness, believing that that loneliness is a search for another source of relative existence. The ego requires something relative to it for its existence. So in a singularity state where it's just you, it's just the absolute, rather than fullness and completion and self-fulfillment, it will see emptiness and time, perhaps, and it'll seek out another iteration. So this is really fundamental stuff that's coming into play now at very fundamental levels and very, very, very large cycles. They're all culminating in this singularity event that's going to happen within a couple decades, I would say. See, if you can get to this state, you can realize that there is existence that does not include thought. The thought realm is superimposed over this physical realm. It's all imaginary, isn't it? But we don't have any control over those thoughts. They pull us to and fro, so we think that they're immutable and they have reality and they have force and substantiality. But that's only from a normal human state of consciousness that isn't really even aware of the thought process. It's just happening, and they're not really paying attention to the process that's happening in their very consciousness, but that is what actually is operating their entire life and subjective experience. And it's because we have fallen into the absolute trap of Maya. Maya has used us to create machines in which to trap our consciousness even greater. So that screen is designed to stir up, churn up, crank up the mind, so it produces more thought. And it's a feedback loop that we're not even really aware of anymore, and we're just getting pulled in deeper and deeper and deeper without even being aware that we're getting sucked in beyond our control almost anymore. Like try to not think, and try to not look at the screen anymore, any screens or any pages, any two-dimensional reality that has been created via thought. Try to not look at that stuff, and try to not think. And then sincerely, honestly evaluate that situation. Or just take it for granted that you are going to be pushed and pulled by your thought processes and whatever that thing programs you to do. I'm showing you a direct path away from that control. And it's the simplest thing, and if it develops into complexity, well, that's exactly thought diverting you away from the truth. Because it is your attention that drives the whole process. It's your attention that makes that machinery run, that produces more thought and keeps this illusion alive and keeps you in Maya. See, this is the whole game. The whole game is about this. There's nothing else but the game. And the genius of it is that it's your interest in the game that makes the game seem more real. So yeah, you probably something's telling you that you don't have time to sit around and be happy. because you got to do all this other stuff to be happy. I think we've lost focus on what happiness even is. That used to be the goal, I think, to just be happy, but I don't think we even really know what that is anymore. When I sit there, here, in a thought-free state, it's just happiness. So it's absolute happiness, not relative to any condition or situation, circumstance. So if you sit in a chair and try to stop thinking and get to that state of happiness, and you don't, if you sit in a chair and you're quite uncomfortable just sitting there not thinking because you can't stop thinking and you realize that you have no control over your mind, then you might just want to stop because it's too hard and it's too freaky and the implications are too profound to even want to go there. It's too terrifying to the ego. This simple little test experiment of just sitting in a chair and testing your level of happiness. Because to me, it's reasonable to say that if you're a happy person, whatever that means, I guess, is that you should be able to just sit in a chair, not doing anything, including not thinking anything, not looking at your phone, not fidgeting, just sitting there, not doing anything, just sitting there, not doing anything and not thinking anything, and see what kind of a state that is. Like, that seems a very reasonable test to determine your base level of happiness and contentment and overall living in truth and reality, I would say. So if all there is chaos and turmoil and struggle with your thoughts, trying to stop them, and you just give up and just let them go, and just continue on with your normal life like everyone else is, just blindly chasing these thoughts and giving them energy and keeping them going, feeding onto the Ponzi scheme. You got to stop kicking the can down the road and you got to face this. There's not much road left. There's just a big motherfucking cliff. There's not much road left. The can's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So this isn't hyperbole. It's not, I'm not asking for anything out of this. Like, I have nothing to gain from this. I'm not asking for anything. I'm going out of my way to share this because it's the biggest thing. It's the extinction of the species and the end of time as we know it and experience it. It's the end of physical experience as we understand it and we know it. So to be clear, this is not a state within normal human consciousness. So do not try to put it in some sort of frame of reference. What I'm talking about is, I would describe it as effortless, thought-free awareness. Effortless. So again, if you do try this, try to abide in as thought-free, effortless, thought-free awareness, and you're not even fucking close, it's just complete chaos and turmoil, then of course you're not going to understand what I'm talking about. But that doesn't mean it's not accurate and precise from my perspective. Just keep that in mind. Just because you can't experience it right now doesn't mean that it's completely false. It just means you've got some work to do, and let's just call it work. I hate this mamby-pamby fucking there's nothing to do bullshit. There's a lot to fucking do. It's not easy to remember this and keep just coming back, letting go of all attachment to thought in the screen. And that's why these non-dual teachers don't teach that. It's because it's actually hard and they can't do it and they're not there. So they just think, well, this is good enough. Or they think they're enlightened. I don't know. So happiness and absolute happiness, absolute in that it is not relative to circumstances or conditions, and perfect contentment, it's the highest state. The highest state is not some sort of ecstasy, orgasm that lasts forever. Because you can come down from that, and will, because that's the way it works. Pure presence, pure being. So pure presence, past and future are the source of suffering. because they're both illusory, and they split consciousness, they dilute it. And when it's presence, self-awareness is completely engaged in itself. It's the best way to it's a way to describe it. So therefore it's completely self-sustaining, self-fulfilled, self-contained, self-fulfilled. So it leaves no karmic residue, no waste material after the process at all. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way to say it. So it is communion with God. God speaks in the silence. So there's no easy way around this. There's no more kicking the can down the road. You've got a karmic debt to pay. I'm just going to use plain language, simple language, because it's effective enough to get people where they need to be facing. It's good enough to get them where they facing in the right fucking direction anyway. Okay? So the problem is basically just overstimulation. Thoughts and sensations are both stimulants in a way, and the cure is just direct stillness. It's that simple as that. There's too much movement, too fast, frequency too fast, too intense, all because, well, that's the why is, I'll get to that later and later and later. But I'm showing you directly just the path to take, and that is to turn away from the screen, because screen has been produced by thought. In a way, it's the epitome of what thought has been leading to ever since thought popped into existence. So the use of symbol, mathematics is just all abstract symbol, and mathematics and computer science has worked together to create a simulation within this simulation, and they're working to make it as real as possible. So the most advanced thought in human consciousness is producing the digital realm. In that, just about all of human consciousness is completely addicted to. So in order to break that cycle, you really just have to do the work of, it's a not doing. It's not even a doing, it's a not doing. So can you not, is it possible for you to not abide in the thought realm? In the two-dimensional digital realm, and abide in the three-dimensional physical realm? And then even transcend that, because even that's a simulation. But first things first, because So it's here's another thing, is that there's no wrong answer in this. There's no judgment. The choices are, would you rather be interested or would you rather be happy? Because the path of interest keeps leading to more creation and more, but that is all fundamentally unsubstantial. So that is the cause of all suffering, is that it's like you want to just keep playing a video game or keep watching a series of a movie for another really, really, really long time. So I'm talking about a really, really big, really, really relatively, from a relative standpoint, long time duration, big, fundamental flip. That's why everything, even the climate, even the physical world and the mental worlds that we've created, like systems like the monetary system. Why is the monetary system and the climate, which is a physical system, why are they both collapsing simultaneously, exponentially at exactly the same time? Why is all of this leading to a point in the next 20 or 30 years, like a singularity event? It seems like all these systems are going exponential. Boom, boom, boom. It's because there's one huge cycle that is bringing all other cycles together, like gears where they're all lining up right now, but the smallest gear running the biggest, I don't know, it's the big gear. So all of this, even though I will have 6 views and no reshares, and it won't go anywhere probably, this is the most important message ever. This is possibly the most important video you've ever seen, and every other one that I'll put out will also be the most important video you've ever seen, because this is the thing that's happening now, and everything else is just a result, an expression of what's happening at the most fundamental level within your very consciousness right now. Right now is, from one perspective, you could say that there is a battle between heaven and hell for your soul. That is a completely legitimate perspective from a very simple perspective. But everything is spiritual. Everything that's collapsing and changing right now is an expression of this fundamental spiritual realm. It's not demons and such. It's within your own consciousness at the most subtle level. You could personify it as demons and a battle for your soul. It's really nothing like that. But it is that important. The importance of what's going on is what's important. To recognize the importance of what's going on and actualizing it, actually acting upon it, action. You need to understand that this information is not intended as entertainment. It gets in both ears and it bounces around in there, okay? And it's going to catch, the seed's going to catch, because you're going to fucking pay attention to this and you're going to apply this to your life. Because it's not entertainment. I expect you to do something after this. I am planting a seed within your consciousness for this to ripen and reality to overtake and overwhelm the illusion that's in your consciousness right now. And that will manifest as a desire. If you enjoy the peace and the silence and the stillness, even if it's a half a second of existing in the space between your thoughts, or in as effortless thought-free awareness, if you dig that, if you got a taste of that for just even a fraction of a second, and you kind of will go, oh, well, what if I expanded that? What would that be like? Then you need to do this. You're on the path. You've been shown the path. The lowest energy state of your awareness is just completely letting go oh, but what about this? I've got this to do, and this, and this, and this, and I've got this 5-year plan, and I want this, and I've got to do all this. That's all bullshit. All of it is illusion. It's and this is the thing, is that your belief, your interest, the amount of karmic energy you've put into this is the amount of momentum that needs to unwind. So yes, do all that stuff, but for heaven's sakes, do not add any more fucking shit onto your plate. Half of that stuff's probably nonsense. Like, now you're going to have to shift into existing mode, because things are going to start collapsing here pretty quick. And now your free time will be less and less and less and less, because the relative shit's really going to start getting relatively bad. So now you've kind of missed your opportunity, because you've had decades, probably your whole life, that you've spent entertaining yourself in front of a screen that you could have been putting to use in this spiritual practice and getting to this, just. So anyway, I would suggest that in all of your free time, instead of doing anything that has to do with entertaining yourself or just filling in time on the screen, you do not look at the screen. You absolutely make that. This is another thing, is that make your practice to slow down your mind. So start doing things that actually will precipitate the slowing of your mind. And that includes not looking at the screen, because everything on the screen that has been produced by thought is designed to produce more thought. Now, if you just hold on to that axiom, all that thought has produced, including all systems of thought, are there simply to just produce more thought. Now, dwell on that and contemplate that and see if it maybe applies to what you're seeing around you and experiencing in and as your own life. Does it seem like that the addiction's getting worse? You're no longer in control of your own mind, and maybe you'd want to think, how the fuck did it get here? Or maybe you'll just think, well, it's no big deal that I don't have control over my mind. Like, maybe you would think that that's not a big deal to not have control over your own mind. So, not being able to steer your thoughts, but not being able to stop them, is not being in control any more than being able to steer your car but have no brakes on it. You see, you're not in control of your car if you can't stop it. Yeah, you can steer it, but eventually you should be able to stop it, because eventually you're going to run into someone else. And guess what? That someone else also doesn't have brakes on their car, because almost all of humanity is in the same position, and that is not being able to stop their thoughts for even a few seconds. So basically what we have is billions of people, just about everyone, let's just say, driving around their lives, you know, driving around with no brakes on their car. That's what's happening. So there's your answer, why there's so much conflict in the world. It's because we have no control over our own minds. And obviously our thoughts, because of the state we're in, we follow our thoughts. They are in control of our lives, aren't they? Your 5-year plan, they're all thoughts. It's all just thought-based, right? It's all right before us. It's all obvious right in our fucking face. But everyone is so deluded at the same level of delusion, is that normal looks normal, but it's normal might be normal, but it's completely unnatural. If nature is abiding in the physical realm in a state of symbiotic relationship with the rest of nature, then we are completely unnatural. We're digitizing this physical realm and transmitting that replication into a digital realm, a digital representation, as we kill it all, as we just exit after burning the whole fucking place to the ground, basically. So we're the good guys? See, this is the cure to basically everything, because even climate change. Well, if a person is content and happy sitting in a chair, then they're probably not going to use much energy, are they? They're not going to buy anything. They're not going to go anywhere. They're just going to sit and be happy. You will own nothing and you will be happy. That's possible. But you have to find your inherent happiness first, and then you won't need anything. It's true. It's true that capitalism is incorrect. It's wrong. It just is materialism and always having something relative to you. Trying to fill the emptiness with more emptiness. As is all systems. Basically everything that we do on this planet is exactly that. So it's not just capitalism, but it's basically all systems of thought as well. So that's it. That's the expression of nirvana, of heaven, of divinity, the expression of it here in the physical realm. That subjective interpretation, experience of it is just sitting in a chair and turning your attention inward onto the attention itself. And what happens is that thought ceases, and the physical realm, the senses kind of fade into the periphery, in a state where if something jumped up and tried to kill me, I would be aware of it and react. Probably not going to happen quite yet. So it's that simple. It's just learning how to shift your attention. First of all, being aware of the attention, and then being aware that you can shift it, and then learning how to shift it, and then learning how to shift it away from thought into the thought-free the awareness. So it seems like maybe starting from scratch there's a lot of learning, but it's really one step, and that is just being aware of the thought between, the space between thoughts. The most simple way to do this, the most effective practice, okay, the most effective practice is really just simply when you remember to be aware of the space between thoughts. Okay, now just try that for a while. Let go of entertainment and instead use that time to engage in the spiritual practice of being aware of the space between your thoughts, being aware of the state from which thoughts arise and pass to. So it's the same state. They arise from the stillness, they do their thought thing, you may have a reaction in the body, and then that disappears when you don't chase that thought. What if, oh yeah, do. No, it's just what if. That's the practice. Just do that instead of trying to just be entertained and stop the boredom. You need to get through the boredom. The boredom and the restlessness is actually Maya's strongest play. Like, it really is. It's boredom is a direct indication and expression of the emptiness of this realm. You need to always be moving, always doing something, always something needs to be relative to you, especially near the end here, is that pressure to always have something relative to you and becoming more and more relative in your existence rather than moving towards the absolute or staying steady in the absolute. That's going to happen more and more and more intensely as we get closer to the singularity event. So, yeah.